Look, I know the internet's on fire right now, but this is why you shouldn't worry about Spider-Man leaving the MCU. So the internet's on fire, and it's because of this Deadline article that came out where it was reported that Kevin Feige, producer extraordinaire of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, will no longer be involved with future Sony Spider-Man movies. And it boils down to money. The way it currently goes is that Sony pays Marvel somewhere, quote, in the range of 5% of first dollar gross, meaning that Marvel will get a percentage of what the movie makes on its initial release. You see this with some actors doing this. Leonardo DiCaprio did that for Inception instead of his, I think, negotiated $20 million salary, and that really worked out for him because he ended up getting $50 million off of the deal. So it's just a practice that happens, and especially because this kind of scenario is really rare, that, you know, it's basically, it's a weird thing to have going on. And if we're talking about Spider-Man's first day released, at least domestically, that's $40 million. So you do 5% of that, I want to say it's somewhere in the 200,000s. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that. But considering that this is a weird arrangement and Sony technically does own the property of Spider-Man, it's all a big kerfluffle. So instead of that 5% of the first dollar gross, Disney's now asking that Sony split the character with them. Any Spider-Man movies that they make, 50-50, all profits even. And on one hand, you can get where Disney is feeling kind of slighted, you know? If you're only making arguably $200,000 domestically off of a Spider-Man movie that you had a big hand in producing, you would feel slighted in some way. But if you're Sony Pictures and your biggest moneymaker is Spider-Man, you go from $200,000, again estimated, to 50% of everything? The thing that puts the food in people's hands and keeps the lights on more than any other property at Sony Pictures, the one that just won them an Oscar, they're gonna split 50% of the profits? That's crazy! And let's not act like Disney needs the money. This boils down to a mob boss situation. Because realistically, you don't need Kevin Feige to work this out. You don't really need that creative influence in these movies. You can run along with John Watts, Tom Holland, and the rest of the people that are writing and working for them and just do that at Sony. I understand the history of Sony executives meddling and really messing with it, especially that one dude, Tom Rothman, who has garnered so much hate over the years. You can make these movies without the involvement of the MCU. The creative people in control are still there. And what I'm really wanting to focus on is creative people. Think about it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse just won an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. And Kevin Feige wasn't in that. He didn't have any involvement with that. He might have had maybe consulting or people ask him a question or two, but he's not a producer on it. And by the way you see these rollouts of animation and how people are working on that film, it seems like the focus in mind was truly a good creative environment. So why can't we replicate that with a live-action version? Hell, bring in Phil Lord and Chris Miller to produce the next live-action Spider-Man movie. Would that work out for y'all? As long as you have creative people with a good head inside the business, ultimately, if the movie's good, the movie's good. It doesn't matter really who makes it. I basically made this video to say, don't walk on the streets with your apocalypse signs and say, Spider-Man is dead! What shall we do? Calm down. First and foremost, I really don't think this is the end of the negotiation. In no way, shape, or form. Sources said, no official comment from Disney or Sony, this isn't over by a long shot. And think about the range of money we're talking about here. 5% of a first dollar gross to 50% of the pie? There are multiple mediums where we can meet. I really don't think this is over anytime soon. 2, if Spider-Man does end up leaving, The people that made those movies, the director, the crew, the cast, they're still in there. I know you may be worried about producers, and that's a point of contention too. But the people that are making the movie, as long as they make the movie the right way, the movie will turn out fine. Also, third, where's my conspiracy hat? I'm not gonna have a conspiracy hat. I don't have a hat right now. I'm gonna put on the conspiracy flamingo. Is it strange to you that this news comes out with the announcement that Spider-Man Far From Home is gonna get re-released for Labor Day weekend? You know, drum up a story, leak some info to get people riled up, and all the Save Spider-Man fans and the MCU fanboys are gonna rush to the movie theaters on Labor Day just to stand for their boy Spidey and make a little bit more money, which is ultimately gonna go in Sony's pocket, by the way. Or will they boycott the whole thing altogether? I think there's a lot more at play than what we've been given here. And I think it's honestly inappropriate to start riling up people on these doomsday prophecies before we have more information as to what's really going down. This whole video is just for me to say, take a deep breath, read the articles, think about this from multiple points of view. Not just the person that wants to see Spider-Man and Wolverine and Mr. Fantastic and Ironheart team up against a World War Hulk, but also from the people that have to run a studio and are being asked to give up half of their biggest moneymaker. Just take a deep breath, think, and as I figure out more information, I will be sure to share that with you too. Shameless plug, if you want to subscribe to the channel for those updates and information. And until next time, rest easy, friends. It'll all be okay.